Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Dear Black Woman. We are a podcast featuring Black women from different countries. I am Cammie Red here with Lauren and Nicole, and today we're getting real about a topic that impacts so many of us: mental health. In this episode titled Mental Health Matters, Navigating Emotional Wellness in a World That Doesn't Always See Us, we're going to talk about the mental health struggles we face as Black women, the stigma that exists in our communities, and how we can prioritize our emotional wellness. We'll also be sharing some personal stories about how we've navigated therapy, self-care, and coping mechanisms when life gets heavy. So whether you're on your own journey or supporting someone else, let's get into this important conversation together. So let me bring on up Lauren and Nicole. Hello, ladies. Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you ladies doing today?
We are back. Do you know what is crazy in the UK? The weather is.
If you've been paying attention to the news, I'm here in Atlanta. We're under hurricane watch, which is weird.
You gotta be safe. You gotta be safe.
Yes.
Be safe.
Yes.
So I think the change in weather is definitely reflecting in the mood, and so this links in very nicely today with how
we got it's definitely same here, same weather here in Paris, shady weather.
But you know what, to be fair, Nicole, when you look at your background, it just looks lovely.
Yeah.
It looks lovely, but outside ain't so lovely.
Yeah. So if at any point we might just get a blowing in the the wind was come, and we've got to make sure Cammie's safe over there.
Listen, I told you guys, if I go out and I disappear from the podcast, you guys just continue.
We'll fly the flag for you.
Fingers crossed. So you can be here to the end. Yeah.
The power and the Wi-Fi have been flickering. So we're just going to say we're all going to stay safe today.
Yes. And
it's crazy that we're having this shit weather and we're talking about mental wellness today, okay?
And I think it just links in completely this week.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you can sort of tell from our energy and from our mood how the weather is actually playing on us and how it actually has a part to do with our mental wellness. Yes. So in that something, it's funny how God works, okay?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the answer to all our questions or whatever we want to say is to all book a holiday to somewhere sunny.
Okay.
Listen, this is self-care 101. Booking ourselves a cool little trip, a place where we can chill.
Exactly.
Go with some girlfriends as well. Just
grab go somewhere sunny and free, grab a bottle of wine and just relax either on the beach or by the pool.
So shall I have a look at Jamaica, ladies?
Well, wait a minute before you do that.
Be on the beach with the mocktail. I don't care.
Okay, but before you do that, just be a reminder that the hurricane that's headed here into Atlanta just left that area. Okay.
It's left. It's not coming in. It's outgoing. It's not incoming. So that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, ladies, I want to first start off by talking about today's topic, which is mental health. And we all know how important that topic is, not only to Black women, but to the Black community as a whole, and how stigmas have been actually developed around the topic of mental health. We touched on some things last week that we talked about being the strong Black woman and, playing the emotional nurturing mammy role and how we deal with stereotypes. But I think that links very much to what we're going to talk about this week, how all of those things play upon our mental health, how even though we are seen as nurturers. We're seen as the strong Black woman. We're seen as various stereotypes, but the world never really sees us for who we are. And
Yeah.
they never give us credit for the things that we've accomplished. And that right there can play a major role on your mental wellness, your emotional wellness, how you connect with others, how you deal with your trauma and things of that nature. So let's go around the room and take a little poll. Let's talk about what emotional and mental wellness means to each one of us. Lauren, we'll go ahead and start with you.
And this is where you realize that I'm in that space right now. So I think it's when you can get to a place where you understand your limits, where you understand where you have to pause and then actually do something about, we spoke last week about how you might have 10 different situations, just piling on within an hour, within a day, within a week. And I think it can all get quite, it can snowball and become, quite overbearing. So I think it's about understanding that, and then what works for you to sort of relieve that and know how to manage it and keep it, where it's not too overbearing all the time.
Okay, Nicole.
For me, it is taking the time to listen to myself, to assess my emotions, because I've been, and I am still guilty of it, not really attentive to what my body or my emotions or my intuition is telling me, and trying to force things. But then at the end of the day, there's only one you. So the only thing that you can do is really make sure that you rest. But I really made an effort lately to sleep, to really hamp on the quality of my sleep, because it influences so much things. It is something that is to be said about just a good night's sleep and how it can repair, but really basically listening to yourself and make a point to pause,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah,
See,
definitely.
I'm gonna say for me, it showed up yesterday when we were on our call, and how everybody was low key fussing at me, because
What was we fussing about, Cami? No sleep, no rest, too much work. Shall we go on?
Yes.
But what it showed me is the things that I teach, the things that I preach, I also have to incorporate into my life. And even though we work to get these messages out to other women and talk about the things that we can actually, do, and how we can overcome some of these things as Black women, I'm still in a place of dealing with my trauma. I'm still in the place of, letting go. I'm still in the place of feeling like I need to make up for some things. But what I realized is I'm actually in the right place. I'm doing the right things, and I'm where I'm supposed to be. So I need to take a moment, take a step back, look at myself for who I am, rest my body, because I do have an autoimmune disorder, and pay close attention to my health, my nutrition, like Nicole said, my resting habits, also my spiritual wellness as well.
Yeah.
Getting back tuned with that. So all of those, and it goes to some of the things I teach under the 10 dimensions of wellness, where I'm constantly telling people how everything is all interconnected. And even as the quote unquote strong Black woman, you cannot be strong all the time. And I think we talked about last week how that was low key. It's not a compliment to be the strong Black woman. Actually,
and I think with this kind of situation, in all the stuff you're just talking about, Cami, we have to also understand that there's never an end to this journey as such. Because I
Exactly.
think people think that there's an end. If I do this, this, and this, I'm going to get to this
But it
place.
doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
just
work
got
like
to
that.
learn to continue
Yeah.
to manage
So
and
that is
implement
yeah,
these
that
things.
is where what I'm learning is, we set goals and we say things that we want to accomplish and that we want to do. And we think once we've reached that goal, then okay, it's gonna end. No, it does not end, because that is technically the goal is just a piece of the puzzle and a piece of your purpose that God has intended for you.
Yes,
And
it's for a journey.
yeah, it's always something else to come up with it, something else to do. Like I was explaining to you ladies, we were supposed to have our meeting for our virtual wellness summit last night. You all had just fussed at me about how I needed to rest, how I needed to do this, how I needed to
Did you
do that.
cancel it?
Yeah, I didn't cancel it. God canceled it. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
yeah, my power and my Wi-Fi went out because of the storms here in Atlanta. So
wow.
I had to, and I literally had to send a message from my phone, which I didn't know certain things that I could do on my on an app on my phone. So I was hoping that the message got out to people, which today I'm gonna have to go back and send a video out because some people misinterpreted the message. Um,
Mhm.
I had a lady ask me, "Oh, do we have to pay again?" And I was like, "No, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying was I have to cancel this session because I don't have power and I don't have Wi-Fi access. I'm literally sending this from my phone and hoping
Mhm.
that my phone won't die in the process."
In the process.
Yeah,
So I do feel like it isn't just like you said, it's not just uh you get to that space and then you kind of stop. I think it's about understanding that this is a continuous thing you have to keep
Yes.
doing,
yeah,
and also you don't have to implement everything at once, because I find with myself what will happen, I will hit rock bottom, or I will hit like a state of like where I'm shutting down, and then before you know it, I'm like, right, I'm going on holiday, I need to eat better, and then I'm trying to then overpower myself with all these other things that I think is going to reverse it, and reverse it very quickly. But
yeah.
then
Yeah.
other things then start to suffer, and then I go into a cycle again where then I'm
You're
stressed because
doing
it
everything and
worked
you're
out. So
stressing
it's about
yourself.
just a
So
small gradual thing, isn't it?
what we need to learn, and I think this is across the board, not just for you, me, and Nicole, but and I'm not even gonna say just for Black women, but for Black people and even some other cultures, is that we all need to take a moment and take a step back and take care
Yeah.
of mental health.
Yes.
It's that is very important. And like I'll tell the story of how this book came about. Let me be very transparent while we're on here. The book is actually a therapy assignment for me. So I've actually, one of the things that I noticed that I've stopped doing is I've stopped listening to the book on Audible.
Right.
So
Mm.
I've gotten so busy in my everyday life that I'm not even listening to my own words or listening to the thing that was put in place, the coping mechanism that was put in place for me to move forward and get through some of the trauma that I faced.
Yeah.
Which is really important, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
really important.
It really is. The
So I
thing
think
for
if
us
we
is,
could get some kind of system, I think it. I don't know, Nicole, if this is something you would ever share, but or anything, but just like putting 10 things that you think do relax you or do get you into a better state of mind, and even if you do one that week or two that week, and always try and increase it slowly. So if, like you said, getting a good night's sleep, or just taking an hour every day out of your day just for you, it's just making sure that you can do small things every week and just build upon them.
yes, and just like I absolutely worry with what you said, Lauren and Camille as well. The thing also is like trying to have a routine per se, but a routine, but be flexible because lives happen, and sometimes your schedule is not going to be accommodating you for some self-care or the things that you had planned. and just like really thinking it's a journey, and each day, and basically trying to do your best each day, you know. Because often I'm hearing, like, lots of people saying, oh, you need to do this, you need to be doing cold water in the morning, you need to be waking up at 5. Excuse my language, motherfucker. What?
5 p.m. Nicole, they meant 5 p.m.
like 5 a.m. If I have kids, if I have food to prepare, if I have a long commute. Oh, come on, those things are not.
I know. At 5 a.m.
You need to,
Nicole.
at the end of the day, exactly. At the end of the day, you need to have a routine that works for you and your lifestyle, and it
Yes.
doesn't look like everybody else, and
that's
it's okay, because
yeah.
we're all different. It's absolutely okay.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's even in what I teach in nutrition. Is I tell people, there's so much out here. You have to eat this and you have to eat that, and you need to eat by a certain time. You have to stop eating by a certain time. That doesn't work for everybody.
I agree.
Not if
There's
you're a
no
night shift worker.
Yeah,
If
and
you're,
that's what I had. Yeah.
if
So
you're
for me, it's about what fits into your lifestyle, what fits into your world, what fits into how it works for you. You may
Mhm.
not be an early riser where you can get up at 5 a.m. and be productive. That may not work for you.
No.
Just because it worked for someone else, don't force yourself to live the bounds, live within someone else's.
Does it work for you, Nicole?
I wanted to ask you the question: are you an early morning riser, Lauren?
Remember, I'm in the club. Remember, Nicole.
In a cat suit. Yeah,
At
no,
5 a.m. I'm getting in to go to sleep.
Ooh, Lord.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and that's the thing. If you work a night shift, or if you're in the club like Lauren, okay, you can't eat dinner at 6 p.m. and not be hungry. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the same thing with your mental health. What works for one person isn't gonna work for everybody, and we have to be extremely, extremely mindful of that.
Mm.
Even when dealing with our own lives, when we talk about comparing ourselves to other people, we've got to stop doing that. Yes, we can take some key points from what they're doing. Yes, we can take some things, but we need to adjust it to us and to what we're doing and into our lives and to the schematics and the purpose of what we have going on. Like, yep.
Oh, sorry. I had a really good discussion with a friend about mental health, especially within the Black community and Black women specifically. And what I asked her was a question of: do you believe what you've seen, that you ever see signs of mental health within a Black woman? And we sat there and we kind of was going back and forth, and she was like, I don't know. And I said, for me personally, I have never seen out and out signs of the transition of a woman going from having a healthy mental state to a broken mental state. You either get one or the other. I don't see the transition. I don't know if it's different with you guys, but I was sitting there saying, sometimes you might see like but then you could, I was talking about, like, you might see someone drinking a bit too much, or you might see someone doing something out of the ordinary too much. But do we really associate it with Black women? Because I always think I've either seen Black women being strong and, getting on with it, or completely gone.
Yeah.
Completely gone.
Yesterday, I had a conversation with my Lyft driver, okay? And he was, because when you get in a Lyft, they're talking to you about, who you are and what you have going on. And I was telling him about my book, about the podcast and all this stuff, because I'm always sharing what we got going on. Okay. So he asked me a very similar question. And I said, here's the thing. We wear a lot of masks. We wear a lot of masks and we hide a lot of things.
This is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So you're never going to see that transition. You're going to see the happy, and then you're going to see the break.
The
because
broken.
in between
It's
the
crazy.
you're
It's
gonna see her
crazy.
wear the strong Black woman mask. You're gonna see her wear that mammy mask where we talk about being too nurturing and all of that. So the things that we discussed last week are not just stereotypes. They're also the mask that we wear to hide
Yeah.
our true
Yeah.
selves and to
Yeah.
hide what it is that we are going through. Because how dare we show up to the world as not having our shit together? Like, how dare we
that's
show
what
up?
that's when I think about mental health and the stereotype and like we're trying to discuss is the stigma around it. We have to keep putting on these different masks until one day you don't pick up any mask because you haven't got the strength to.
I have a question for you both. Do you think, as of today, in 2024, do you think it will be possible to fully show up, and especially for Black women, to fully show up as ourselves and be vulnerable?
No. And that's just me.
And both me and Cammy at the same time. No.
And we can't do that. And that it goes back to what we discussed last week. We cannot do that, not just for society, but we can't even do that in our own culture. We can't be vulnerable with our men until we get to a certain level and a certain stage with them. We still have to wear masks in our relationships. We still have to wear masks in, and no matter how much we don't want to, how much we want to be vulnerable, how much we want to come across as, being this, and I, for lack of better words, I'm not even saying submissive in a way, but just living within our feminine power. How much we want to do that. Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. It is
we
crazy.
Can't do that. And it's sad because we all want that. We do. We want to be this feminine structure that we were designed and God wanted us to be. It's not saying that we have to be submissive, but we just want to be feminine. We want to be ourselves. We want to be authentic. I want to be vulnerable with you without worrying about you using that against me.
But you also have to go back. I mean, a lot of what we've spoken about now is just linked continuously. I think it was you, Nicole, that was saying about, obviously, it goes back to our past again, where if you're constantly fighting and you're constantly on this fight mode and you're constantly on this rolling stone of emotion and continuously gotta, like you said, get up and show up, then it comes from a place where you said you never knew whether your husband was going to come home. You never knew if your children were going to be ripped away from you. You never knew if this was going to happen. So we're continuing that whole process. It might be different things, but we are still got it in us.
You're right.
Put it down.
Our grandmothers and our mothers taught us to take our feelings and push our feelings and our emotions down, because you better not let them see you cry. You better not let them see that they got up under your skin. You better not allow that to happen. You can't go into the workplace and be emotional like a white woman, because again, if you are, then first you're the angry Black woman, then second you're just being a crybaby. So it's so much that we were taught in order to preserve us. But now what we're seeing is those lessons are actually hurting us.
Yes, and they're obsolete. They're obsolete and they're not livable. Look at the high percentage of autoimmune disease in Black women. And this amount is rising all the time. Oh, and I have a few numbers for you here.
Oh, Nicole, we love a number. We love a number.
I like my percentage. I love my numbers. So let me tell you here. really, I was looking
Nicole,
into
can you
this.
do me a favor? Can you pull your glasses down when you're telling us the
Yeah,
numbers,
there you
please?
go. There you
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Ladies, let me
Yeah,
give you the numbers here. Let me give you the numbers because really, when
we
we
need a
talked
snap,
about it
mate.
yesterday, and I was like, so I have a few books that I'm reading, and I was able to glance some information about it. But then I wanted to see some numbers. And the thing for us Black Europeans, there's not really a lot of percentage of numbers going
There's
around.
nothing.
So
They
we
have
base
nothing
ourselves,
for
we
us.
base the numbers on your American numbers.
We have to
So
use American stats for everything.
Why
Everything.
is that?
because we
Because
don't
they don't
exist.
care about us.
We don't exist. We're supposed to be melted into the mass. Are different are not accepted. And
No.
that's the case in France as well. So let me tell you, to come back to my numbers, Black adults in the US are 20% more likely to experience serious mental health
Wow.
issues, such as major depression and anxiety compared to the general population. Black women are more likely than men to experience mental health issues, especially conditions like depression. According to research, about 10% of Black women experience symptoms of major depressive disorder.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Wait,
However, this number could be higher because Black women often face barriers to seeking mental health
didn't I
treatment,
just say? Yeah.
such as stigma or lack of access to culturally competent care.
Yeah. So let's go back to some of the things you said about autoimmune disorders. At 34, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. At 35, I was given the diagnosis of severe yet functioning anxiety and OCD.
Mm,
Yeah.
Um, Here recently at 40, I'm going to say, yeah, about 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS. They thought it was a brain tumor, but it was actually MS.
it is
And
crazy.
from doing the research on all of these things, everything that I've been diagnosed with is dealing with stress or emotions.
And
So,
triggered by
yeah,
that as well.
and
Like you
triggered
have
by that.
episodes based on, and I can imagine you probably have episodes based on
Yeah.
how you're feeling.
Yeah, like I shared with you guys yesterday, I've been here in Atlanta for about 4 months and I hadn't experienced a flare up, but that's because what I was doing, I was masking my true emotions, but I was also, like I said, I'm in
Yeah,
therapy. And what happened to me is I hit, like Nicole, like Lauren said, she hits rock bottom. I hit a wall and my body said enough is enough. I am going through the process of not only dealing with my trauma, but I'm also trying to rekindle or rebuild my brand, my business, my relationships, my connections with people. And what you all said, and also what another friend of mine said, is take a moment. It's only been 4 months. It's only been 4 months. And when that number keeps ringing in my head, I hear you all, but what I also hear and what fights back, and this is what a lot of us go through, is what we're telling ourselves. What fights back for me is, yes, it's only been 4 months, but I allowed this to happen in my life for 2 years. I was dormant for 2 years. I didn't do anything for 2 years. I allowed, my relationship to take over and control me for two
yeah,
years.
But we also
And
spoke about those things shaping who you are.
yeah,
You never go through things just to go through them. We
yeah,
all go
exactly.
through things as an experience to learn.
Yeah. These
And
things happen for you, even though it feels sometimes it feels horrendous at time. But the thing is, and I think
exactly.
on a higher perspective, you need to think that these things are happening for you so that it is part of your soul development.
yeah.
Yes.
And we discussed that. We've discussed the fact that if I didn't go through this, I wouldn't have this book. I wouldn't
We
have
would
this
have never met.
podcast. I
We
would
would
have
have
never
never met.
met you two.
What about us? What
Yeah,
about us?
I
We
Huh?
would
would
have
have
never met
never.
you
You would have
two.
never made it to Italy to meet your
Yeah.
Italiano.
Ciao, bueno. Okay. Listen,
To me,
Yeah,
I tell
no,
you,
we wouldn't
man.
have met. But
I
you know,
mean,
I heard,
you got to. You have to look at it as it being everything's research. That's what
yeah,
you got to put it into.
yeah,
As much
but
as it might be hard
not just
or
yeah.
upsetting.
Not, I was just gonna say, not just talking about me, but Nicole has experienced some of this as well. Because let's talk about your health. You had a heart attack, Nicole,
Right.
and these are things that you
Mm.
were affected by your stress levels, by your
And
mental.
was it through
Yeah,
stress, Nicole? Do you
yeah,
think? Do you think it
and
was?
all of this was stress. All of this was work stress. And that was such a slap in the face for me.
Wow.
Such a slap because I'm make a point to be healthy, to eat right, and I'm not perfect. I'm not gonna come here. Oh, I got this. I'm not mastering this. Okay, I'm doing the best I can, like everyone else.
Nicole's
But
with the ice cream.
I believe I'm doing my best to be, regular and, eating right. And that was, but the thing for me was, for one thing, to saw the reflection of my illness in the face of my only child.
yeah.
And
Exactly.
so Alison
Exactly.
looked at me and I could
Exactly.
tell she was scared.
Heartbroken.
She was scared. And I was like, "Oh, man, that is too much, and I don't want them to experience me like
But the
that also."
crazy part about it is you see how you see yourself through your children, but
Yes.
it's still
You
not.
have a hard time
Yeah,
seeing yourself, and that's the thing that
yeah,
is often like that is that is a hard balance to accomplish. And then I was listening to something and to a podcast one day around that time, and the gentleman was telling basically that when we get sick like this with autoimmune disease, where our brains is not functioning, where things are out of whack, we are disconnected from our own heart.
Wow.
yep,
And then
Wow.
me, I was like, wow, disconnected from my own heart because I also have an autoimmune disease. I have Hashimoto disease. And
um,
Hashimoto disease is the throat chakra.
yep.
Basically, I'm not saying shit about the things that I'm truly thinking about and the emotions that I'm
And
thinking.
you see how you associated that to your throat chakra.
Wow.
Me having breast cancer was in my left breast, so I
Yeah.
actually associated that to my heart chakra.
Yes.
So, and
Yes.
breast
So
cancer at such an early age, where here in the United States, you're not allowed to get a mammogram until you're 40.
What?
So, yeah, that's
I
a
wasn't aware of that.
yeah.
And
You're
really,
most of our insurances don't pay for mammograms until you're 40. So if you're a woman, not just a black woman, if you're a woman
That's crazy.
the age of 40, they're never going to really catch it. So when I got breast cancer, one of the things is I did research on it and it scared me to death, you guys. It really did
I
because
cannot,
most
I can
women,
only
That
understand.
is awful.
women who develop breast cancer at my age usually perish. The reason why they do is because the
It's not
health
caught early enough. Yeah.
it's not caught early enough. You luckily for me, I pay such attention to my body that I could feel a lump in
You
my
know when something's
brain,
Good
different.
for
and
you. Good for you.
at stage 0 plus, which
Wow.
allowed them to do what they needed
You
to
need
do
to
to
do.
help me heal.
It's
I
fun.
and even against my own, beliefs, I went ahead and moved through with chemo. So I blame a lot of the medications and stuff that I took on where I am right now in my
Yeah.
so
Mm.
that is actually how I got into nutrition by actually see. So you see the progression of how the things that I've traumatic
Absolutely,
experiences
Tammy.
have moved me forward to other areas of my life.
It's funny
Ooh,
because I
that
think
is, oh my God, you have no idea. That is,
when you say that it resonates back where I've listened to my mom continuously say, when I retire, I'm going to do this. When I retire, I'm going to do that. When I retire, I'm going here. When I retire, that's all she kept saying. She had a plan, and it was never going to. It was this, it was that. Yeah, I haven't got to retire. And then last year, I called her. She was slurring. She wasn't talking properly. And I was like, Mum, I need to come because it sounds like you're having a stroke. And she was like, no, I think I've just eaten something funny, because she was talking really. I said, no. So I went over to her house, called the hospital, called the ambulance. They came and got her, whatever. And it turned out that her artery from her heart to her neck internally had split. And her blood pressure was so high that it created sort of a stroke. And what really set home for me is nothing is ever guaranteed. We have to start to put the only thing we can have control over. I mean, we look after our house, we look after our car, we look after everything. But the effort we are put in always comes last. I don't know if it's programmed. I don't know what it is, but
it's programmed.
We've been programmed to cater to everybody but us. Cater to the husband. This is the first catering. Catered when we grew up as young girls. Cater to the brothers.
Yes.
Cater to the mothers and everybody in the family. Then you get married, and then you cater to your husband. Then you have kids. You cater to your husbands and your kids and the job. Let me not forget to ask
and the house, and then.
And people are just surprised to see how many women feel just like discombobulated when after a while it's too much.
Definitely. And I think we need to just keep reiterating throughout any kind of podcast or any conversation that women, especially women of color, need to just keep the conversations going, keep having these things, keep letting them know it's okay. If you want to let something out, whatever, just I'm here. We have to keep saying that to each other. We're here, because it's just the small things that just think, oh, it is okay for me to cry, or it is okay for me to have that space today. Like, just, because we are so used to saying, I just can't. Let me get on with it. Let me just get on another day. And then another day might not come.
I completely agree, Lauren. And the thing is, as well, I wanted to ask you a question. As Black women and as women who have moms, who had kids, do you know about menopause? Do you know about the cycle, or the cycle, because you're a professional about? But the thing is, did your mother explain to you how these things were working, how your body was working?
No. Even
did anybody
they did not. No, they did not. Because
mental health, sex, all these things were not discussed. But
listen, my mom never talked to me about the hormonal changes we were going to go through after the age of 40. Because that would have been great to have been warned about that. Okay.
Listen, this is a conversation I'm going to be having with my child, because I can.
Yeah, it would have been awesome to be warned about the fact that my mind was going to change, my hormones were going to change. Not only would I find my own voice, but I would be fighting with my own voice.
No, 100%. And even I find myself like going, when you're talking and it just feels like I'm talking, and sometimes I'm like, what was I supposed to say? You know what you're supposed to say. Come on.
Yeah.
Your house becomes a home of Post-it notes.
Yeah, I used to blame it on chemo brain, because after you have cancer and you go through chemo, you get into these stages where you'll be talking and your entire brain will go blank. Well, I also, not only do I have that, but I have MS. So that also affects my brain. But what I'm realizing is it's not just those, it's my hormones as well. I'm 44 years old. I'm in perimenopause. So for me, it's like, I don't know which to blame it on, what to say, or who to say it is.
Victoria, this week I was having this same conversation with her.
Do you think food and our lifestyles also play a massive part in
absolutely? And let me not forget the level of stress and the level of mental dissonance, and how can I say this, and back flip that we
Yeah.
have to do as a Black woman on an everyday
Yeah.
basis to
Nicole,
present ourselves to the world.
you go
Yes.
ahead and say what you were going to say about you and Sasha, but I want to go back to what Lauren said about nutrition, because you all actually have it better than we do here in the United States. So we know that you all have rules and laws about what can be put into your food.
Yeah,
We don't.
that is true.
We don't. So
However, I will say that now we've come out of the European Union, we are now searching anywhere and everywhere who's going to give us the best deal. And there's been conversations many a times with the states about the import and how that was going to work. So we were like, no, we don't want any of that, you know?
Yeah, because I'm telling you, all of our food over here is chemically laced. Okay. So it does affect not only our brain and our mentality, it affects our children, it affects the men, it affects everybody. But Nicole, go back to what you were saying about the conversation you had with your therapist.
Oh, yeah, no worries at all. You are absolutely right. So she was telling me that this is part of it. And I was explaining her some of the thing that I have. Lately, ladies, I'm opening cabinets and my cabinet stays open in my kitchen. I'm doing things and I'm absolutely forgetting to close them back.
Yeah.
And
Why close them when you know you're going to have to open them at another
and that was driving me crazy. And I was explaining this to Sasha, and she started laughing. She was like, "By the way, hello, Sasha. You're so badass." And she was telling me, it's menopause." I was like, "I'll be damned. Really?"
I think it
was
was
like,
getting really serious, Nicole, when you start like going to your neighbor's house and thinking it's your house, or when you're like,
and I live alone, so I have nobody behind me telling me,
oh, okay.
You left that stuff open. I'm just talking to my cat. So, so things open.
On a serious note, though, sometimes, I mean, for me, I've experienced it more recently because obviously when I have really tight deadlines, I'm trying to navigate through life, through relationship, through everything. I'm trying to navigate through all this stuff. And sometimes I actually can feel my brain, like I can feel it. It's so scary. It's the scariest thing ever. And the only thing that I have made a promise to myself is that whenever I start feeling a certain way, I book a break away, because I can't have time off in the UK. I can't do it. So if I take leave from work or anything, I'm only going to be doing something else work-wise in the house. Or I'm only going to be doing the stuff that you shouldn't really be doing when you're on a break. So I have to take myself out of that situation, take myself away where, what can I do about it? I'm not around, laptops, I don't take anything like that with me when I go away. So I'm due one soon. I'm due a break because I can feel my brain hurt.
Good, as you should. And the thing as well is important also to let the people around you just be responsible. You don't need to be wearing every hat, and people can.
You're asking us to reprogram what we've been programmed for so long. And how do we? I mean, we're all guilty of it. We're free women in different parts of the world, and exactly the same thing.
And you got to remember, it wasn't just programmed in us, it was programmed in our ancestors, because you have to remember how this came about, why we are the way we are. In each of these countries that we're in, there was some type of colonization, and it started with how they programmed us to take care of them, how they programmed us to put them first, and then not only put them first, put our families on the back burners, put our family. And then you got to go take care of them, but then you got to come back to your little small area, your little house, and you got to take care of your kids. You got to take care of your husband. You got to take care of the community. So you're taking care of everybody. And no, we have never been told, it has never been passed down in any Black female generation that says take care of yourself first.
And I think there's a real worry about the future and the younger generation, because yes, I get we have embraced technology to some degree, but I think we're still of a generation that understands when to put it down, whereas the generation underneath us, they can't. And this is their life. It is on show 24 hours a day.
But that's our fault. That's our fault. Here's the thing. You go out to a restaurant right now and watch the family eat. The first thing they're going to do is hand that child the phone, or either they already have their headphones on, they have their iPad sitting in front of them while their mom and dad are talking or either ordering food. So that's our fault. What we have to start doing is in reprogramming ourselves. We've got to reprogram how we parent. We've got to reprogram how we see things.
Agreed.
Our parents didn't allow us to sit in front of the TV all day. Let's just be honest about that. There may have been some things that they forgot to tell us, or that they, programmed us to do, but they did not allow us to be in front of the TV.
But then, Cammy,
I have to see on my TV, okay?
Are we fighting against the bigger force here? So as much as you're saying, we need to do this as parents, you're fighting against a whole society of technology.
But we've been fighting against society in everything that we do. So this shouldn't be. Yeah, this
is something else. Once again, this is what I'm saying. When I speak to you about fighting something else, we're fighting something else.
Right. But we knew this was coming. You understand what I'm saying? We knew this point with technology was coming. It was the choices that we made. We decided that we were going to let technology raise our children. That's what we decided.
But then do you feel like, once again, like I'm looking at it from lots of different sides of it, and it can be a burden and a blessing. And what I would say in a burden and a blessing, once again, if we've got so many, if you get the average mom or whatever, single mom or whatever, and she's got all these hats on, and that iPad allows her to take one hat off for 20 minutes or half an hour,
here's the problem that we have to start addressing first. When you get on an airplane and they give you the safety and all of this stuff, the first thing they do is tell you to put the mask on yourself first before you put it on your child. Right? So what we have to start looking at is, how do we self-care? How are we addressing our own self-care? Because if you have to put that in front of your child so that you can get a moment, then you need to start thinking about what it is that you're doing in your life that you can't. Like I had a client this morning. I was telling you guys about me going back into cooking therapy. Well, I'd already, unbeknownst to me, I've been giving out advice to people, not knowing that God was using me to guide me right back to where I was. Okay. And I told her this morning, I said, I gave you an assignment and you called me to tell me that you're overwhelmed with your 13-year-old daughter and you're going through this, that, and the third. I said, 2 weeks ago, I told you to get in the kitchen with your daughter, and I was thinking that I was giving you nutrition tips, and in all honesty, I was giving you cooking therapy lessons. And what I was telling her was to get in the kitchen with her daughter and cook a meal once a week with her daughter. Give your daughter the keys and the elements of being able to prepare a meal on her own, eating nutritious, doing these type of things. And watch how it changes how you guys respond to each other. Watch how it changes how you don't get overwhelmed because you're dealing with a 13-year-old who started to smell herself or feel herself, or, let's be honest, how teenagers are. So let's find something that is going to bring you guys together and a common ground for both of you all. So we as parents have to say, okay, how can I include my child in also some of my self-care routines? How can I make this not just about self-care for myself, but self-care for myself and my child, so that I'm also teaching my child how to care for themselves as well?
But then this is why I say, once again, I mean, I get it. I do get it. But I do feel like there's such a fuzzy line where we've just said, once again, we're putting someone else first, regardless.
You're not. You're not. You're not putting them first. You're putting yourself first. Because don't you have to eat too?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's an example.
So here's the thing. You have to eat. And you can look at cooking as either a hindrance, it can be a burden for you, or it can be therapy for you.
Yeah.
You have to find time to take care of yourself. Those people who say, I hate to cook, I hate to do this, I hate to do that, that's because they hadn't found the time to literally get in the kitchen and enjoy the joys of cooking. There's so much to be learned around food. You communicate with each other better based upon food. Like, look at how in the kitchen, a commercial kitchen, how you have to communicate out loud when you're just in the kitchen. Look at how our ancestors celebrated around food and communicated with each other around food. I know we suffer a lot from emotional eating, but look how they used to give food as gifts to each other. And you've got to look at those things as self-care. Now, there's balance in everything. Just like you were saying earlier, we have to find the balance in life. Okay, whether that's in eating, whether that's in finances, whether that's in our mental or emotional health, we have to find that balance. And that's not an easy task for us. And
I feel like we've been set up. And as a Black woman, I think we've been completely set up. Because, like I say,
yes, absolutely. But
when I talk about setup, I mean, like, at the end of the day, we are more likely to be left. We are more likely to have all those stereotypes at us. We are more likely to have to fight in the workplace in our everyday. So we have to start getting to a place where slowly but surely, all the things we've been talking about all over the last few shows become second nature to us. We do stop taking on the stereotypes and the labels. We do start taking self-care and understanding it's okay to talk to people, and it's okay to kind of, share, find a therapist, whatever it is, acknowledge that you're struggling. And I think when you start to do that, you start to become more open to these things. But you have to I think everything in it is a process. I don't think we can just say, because we're going through stuff every day,
The first part of that is you have to be honest with yourself. And we spend so much time lying to the world that we're starting to believe our own lies.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
You got to be honest with yourself. You got to say, hey, I need some help. Hey, this doesn't feel right. Hey, something is wrong with me.
Okay. Okay, so let's put a pin in that, because we're acting like as soon as you've made that statement, everyone will then start to understand and maybe come to your rescue.
No, nobody.
When I mean come to your rescue, I mean, like, if you say things out loud, maybe what people are going to start to understand where you're coming from even.
No, that's where it comes in, where we have to find our tribe. We've got to find those group of people that are going to pour into us the same way we pour into other people. Like you guys did me yesterday. You understand? You've got to find that, no matter how hard it is to hear some of those things. I needed to hear that from you all yesterday. You literally said, hey, stop doing this. Stop doing that. Sit down somewhere. Nicole was like,
sorry guys, if she didn't turn up to anything, she was
because I was worried.
Me and Nicole. It was me and Nicole's fault. We told her, don't do it.
Yeah, I was worried because I know how it is, like it's just like it is scary actually. The thing that we need to think about, because self-care for Black women has been such a rebellious act, we need to practice it no matter what.
Yeah. And it's exactly what Nicole said. We need to practice it. It's something that we have.
Can I just say that I'm not taking on the label, but we discussed welfare queens, where people have taken breaks.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Remember, we
It
said
doesn't matter because once you go within and you decide, that's it, I'm done. I'm no longer going to do this or that. Truly, your life change.
Yeah.
You know, I can go. Cami is the perfect example. She was like, you know what? I am done with this relationship.
Yeah.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm gone. And look, in 4 months,
Yeah.
you know, it's
Same,
you
same,
have
same.
you have to go within first.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna give it to you on a silver platter. You need, and that's the thing that we forget with social media and society and everything. You have your own agency. You are able, you know, going back to social media. I have decided I'm not on, I don't have Instagram on my phone. I don't have Facebook on my phone because enough is enough already. I
yeah,
am forgetting my own name.
yeah,
What? No. And
yeah.
I'm not doing this. And the thing that really pissed me off was
Nicole,
like,
why are you making me laugh today? Nicole.
really? Honestly, because the thing is, this gentleman who created the iPhone, he didn't even have one at home.
Nope.
His
Nope.
kids didn't have one. So
No.
why? Why should I have this it? Why? No. I
But
was,
she's
I
not
was
lying.
having
She's
the
telling the truth. Yeah,
I was
she's
having
telling
the
the
same
truth.
conversation with my child. There's something we need to let go. And I have like the oldest iPhone. It's a
Yeah,
seven
me too.
iPhone. It's
So me too.
old shit. And I'm like, no, I'm not buying a new one. And by the way, there's companies creating phones where you don't put social media, where you have a great camera, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's
That's
it.
it.
That's
The
it.
phone should be so you can call your pips and catch up with your people. That's what a good. I miss my rotary phone, and you when you were teenagers and you were starting talking to your boyfriend, you were on the phone like, "Hey, how you
And then
doing?"
someone
Now,
can pick
I
it
don't
up
know if
at
you
it.
all had it when you were growing up, but we had three-way calling over here on those phones.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it
Yes,
was like
you guys
Listen,
were in
let's not
the
forget when your parents could pick up the phone and go, okay, that's enough now. Can you get off the phone? We need
thank
we need
you.
the
Thank
telephone now.
you.
My parents were doing that.
Listen,
Yeah.
I would tell
Oh,
people don't
ladies.
call me till after a certain time, and then don't even call. Like call me, hang up once, call back, hang up after the second ring, and then I know it's you. Okay, you remember that?
Do you know
That
what we used to have this thing, like, because obviously when you were younger and you used to meet boys or whatever, and
yes,
you used to have to give the house telephone number, right? The house number.
Yes.
And then like me and my friends would be like, you call, no, you call, you call. So we'd call and we'd say, hi, is, I don't know, Dwayne there, please? And the mum would be like, no, Dwayne's not here. And put the phone down and we're thinking, okay. So in about half an hour, I'd be like, you have to call, you have to call. I'm not
yes,
calling you. And you have to get through that mum to get.
Oh my God, this is so funny. This is so funny.
But
Yeah, those
that's
were the those were some good days spending a long conversation on the phone with someone
I
that you
know.
really like.
And also, we used to say, how did we used to meet people? Like, as in, meet up with people. How did we used to meet up
we
with?
used to go to the mall. So
No, but
like,
how did you know? How did you
Organically,
know to meet them there and be a? You had to be on time, right? You had to
yeah,
be on time.
we would plan it before we left school. We
Yeah,
would plan it that week. Okay, so Friday, you know, all of your friends, we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that. We'd be like, okay, everybody meet up at the mall at a certain time.
yeah,
And if you lived in, like for me, I lived in a different area that I went to school. So I never met up with my friends. I always met up with my cousin's friends.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they, you know, we would meet up at the mall. There are several malls here in Georgia, like one major one. All of our malls are closing down now anyway, was South DeKalb. We would meet up at South. Let me tell y'all a story. Oh my God. So these
give us the
boys followed us home, and we lived with my grandmother. Followed us home from the mall. Okay. Now this was before cellular phones, before any of that.
Yeah.
Now you they it's none of that. So they followed us home from the mall. We didn't know they were following us, but they followed us. My grandmother opened the door and they were like, hey, we met your granddaughters or your nieces or something at the mall, and we wanted to know, could we hang out with them? My grandma said, you got 30 seconds to get away from me. She said, you got 30 seconds before I go get my gun. So she's still, my grandmother is 95 years old. And you guys know I sit with her on certain weekends. Tell me why
Yes.
she still talks about that.
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, grandma wasn't playing. Grandma wasn't
oh
playing at
god.
all.
No, but
I,
ladies, let's get back to the ways. How let me ask you this. How has therapy or counseling, especially you, Nicole, changed your perspectives with dealing with life's ups and downs? And what advice would you give to someone who's hesitant about actually seeking mental health help or support?
for me, it was really about finding myself back and finding, who I was within. I had tried several other things, but it had given me some relief, but it didn't alleviated the sense that I needed to tend to myself.
Yeah,
And then when I started, a lot of things made sense. Some choices that I had made, some situations where I find myself into, because it feels like you're peeling layers of yourself
yes,
Mm,
and you're seeing yourself accurately. So at the beginning, that can be a bit brutal, I
yeah.
have to say, but it is also exhilarating because you're
mhm,
like, oh, and then you realize, for one, you have someone who is holding space for you every week, and that is Sasha for me.
And it's
Uh,
safe.
yeah, and you feel safe to be expressing yourself, your deepest fear, the deepest wounds or trauma. You can express them fully, and also realizing that you're human and
yeah,
giving yourself grace. And it's nice to have, and then it gives you perspective, and it gives you tools and kind of an armor to walk into the world,
yeah,
where you're like, oh, I can do this. Oh, this person, oh, I see this now. I see this, that.
yeah,
Oh, and then it also allows you to put yourself in check better as
yes,
well.
yes,
You learn patience, you learn grace, and you learn empathy for yourself.
yeah.
That is tremendous. That was so life-changing for me.
I'm gonna
Really.
have to agree with you on that. And my therapy taught me that there were so many things that I was still seeking from a
Yeah.
little girl perspective.
Yeah.
It taught me that I needed to not only heal myself, but I needed to forgive my parents and also forgive
Yeah.
for some of the things and the decisions that I'd made.
Mm,
It gave me the ability to see myself or to start seeing myself as others see me. It gave me, because that's one of the things that I actually, and I know a lot of other Black women suffer with as well, not seeing my own value or seeing my own worth. Um,
Yeah.
you
it gave
ladies are the ones that are pushing that for me, pushing
yeah,
that completely.
it definitely, that's why, I'm an advocate for therapy. I'll tell you in a heartbeat, you need to go see a therapist.
Mm.
I
Um,
am too.
yeah, because it gave me the ability to see me, to see me and to value me and to know that I'm worthy not only of love that loves me properly, but I'm also worthy of self-love, because that's one of the things that we
It
all
started there. It
yeah,
started there.
Mm.
yeah,
And the thing that you need to realize as well is when you start on this journey, it's like giving yourself some extra love.
yep,
You're giving your soul some extra love, some extra attention, some extra comprehension and patience. And that is key, because to be able to reflect that into the world, You need to be able to do that for yourself first, you know.
So
And yeah.
yeah, how, and this is for both of all of you, all of us rather. How do you think our spirituality, or just cultural practices or faith, play an approach into our emotional wellness? Because I can tell you guys, a lot of things that I'm noticing with Black women is that it's not so much that they're turning away from God, but they're turning away from traditional religion,
I
um,
agree.
perspectives. And what they're doing is realizing that religion is a construct, or something that has been conformed or can be
Yeah, it's another thing to restrict, to divide, to create, to
yeah,
it's just something else that that will, you have to remember, if you follow a particular religion, there are things attached to that. There's once again something else, another thing you got to think about, another expectation, another label, another, it's just something to add to the stuff we're already dealing with. So
yeah.
I think the main thing, I mean, when you talk about, what certain cultures, we've spoken about it. We were always kind of told, you don't take stuff out the house, you don't talk about certain things, you don't. So
Mhm.
when you talk about therapy, it's been tradition that, what's done in this house, you don't take it out this house, don't talk my business, don't.
Well, also, when you talk about therapy, your grandmothers and your mothers and the people before us were told to pray about it. So they were taking and using God in place of what was actually needed to be done. Um,
Mhm.
instead of seeking a supported, like when I tell people now, I say, if you have a clergyman that has a degree in psychology, or that has taken classes in how to talk to other people, or understand not just about preaching about God, but also understand what it means to develop mental illness, because mental illness is real.
Mhm.
It's not a
I
fake
think
thing. It's not a
no,
not a curse. It's not anything like
no.
that. It is a real disease.
But that
Yeah.
needs to be implemented from a young age, just like you would do with lots of other things, whether you're talking about sex, whether you're talking about relationships, whether you're talking about, like you said, you weren't, no one discussed with you about menopause. All these things, mental health is a journey, and mental well-being is a journey. And if you can implement in your children from young to take that time out and do all these things, then guess what? They are going to grow up to be, healthy,
Now you
Mhm.
understand
adults.
what I was saying
Yeah,
earlier.
no,
Exactly.
100%. I do get that. I'm just saying, in the context of how we do it, is it,
Like,
is
it doesn't have to be in the kitchen. It doesn't have to be that. Maybe you go out to the park with your child and sit and do some meditations, or teach your child yoga, so that you're doing yoga with your kids. But it doesn't have to look like what I'm saying about cooking therapy. It could be cooking, because now you're teaching your child to take care of themselves, but not in just a mental way, but you're teaching them to take care of themselves in a nutritional way
But I
as
think the
well.
Yeah.
language as well that we use with our children or our grandchildren or whoever, our language, if our language changes to the younger generation period, like the language that was given to us, that's what's kept us in this state. That's what's kept us in this. That's what's
You're very
created
right. Yeah.
this mental, bomb in our heads. But if you change the conversation, you change the way the dialogue, like you said, we'd say to boys, don't cry. We'd say to girls, you don't need him. Whatever it might be, before they've got to express themselves, we're already there with our hammer. Like, nope,
Mhm.
stop. Don't
Yeah,
do.
that is true. That is true. There's also a point that I want to add, and a little question for you both, because for the aspect of faith, um, do you think uh, being spiritual and being in therapy is compatible? Because
Absolutely.
we know a lot of people don't think so.
Absolutely.
It's either you rely on God or either you do
No,
therapy.
no,
But
no, 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 no. See, we talked about it earlier when I said everything's interconnected. See, your spiritual wellness depends on your mental wellness. How are you going to be sound with God if you're not sound as a person?
Exactly.
Like you cannot, you can't, how you going to connect with God when you can't even connect with self?
Yeah, I
Like,
absolutely
yeah,
agree.
like
I
those are the
absolutely
questions
agree.
that you have to ask yourself. How are you going to connect with nature? You have to use God to connect with nature. You have to use God to connect with self. So these are all connected. Everything
Yeah.
is interconnected.
Mm.
There's no way one can go without the other. You and I,
Thank you for saying that because a lot of people don't see it.
yeah, it's not one or the other. It's both.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
can be combined. And the
Yeah.
thing, especially around faith, for me, it's really realizing that we need to find practices that allow us to see, to have a God that looks like us.
And that's why I said, how can you connect with God when you can't connect with self? So in order
Exactly.
for you to connect with God, you need to be able to connect with yourself. You can't hear what God is saying to you because everything else has clouded your mind.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
you can't hear how the universe is speaking to you. You can't feel that unless you are prepared to get work. You've got to be honest with yourself, first of all, that you need the
Oh,
I agree.
Cammy, you're pausing. You're
Candy.
freezing.
Oh,
am I back? Am I back? Am I
You're
back?
back. You're back,
Okay.
guys.
okay,
Okay.
you're back.
Y'all know.
Yeah, that is. And I think, oh, you see, oh, okay. And I think one of the reason it is difficult for us, I think, spiritually, because very often we were sold a white God and a white God who was mean, punish, and and
Christianity was used against us to enslave us. It
exactly.
was used to brainwash us. I have nothing against Christianity, nothing whatsoever.
Me
Um,
neither.
However, I believe the Bible to be just as important as the Quran. I believe the Bible to be just as important as the Bhagavad Gita. I believe the Bible to be just as important as other self-help books out there. I do believe that. I believe that God sends us a message in so many different ways through so many different things. And yes, you can utilize the Bible as your fail safe, what you go to. But that book was weaponized against us. That
Yeah.
book,
Yes.
it holds so much trauma from the past 400 to 500 years that we were in existence and that we were brought over here to the United States, brought to England, brought to different places. That book was utilized to brainwash us. And that is why we have some of the issues that we have today. And I'm
Yeah.
not speaking against the Bible in any way because, again, I lead my devotions from the Bible. I lead my devotions from the Quran. I lead my devotions from various religious texts. And the way I see it is God is speaking to us through everything. When you go outside,
Exactly. It's likely.
yeah,
Faith is like a diamond. A diamond. It has different
It
facets,
has
and it's
different like
as
that's what I
different,
said. 100%.
and as unique as the universe is.
yeah.
And that's absolutely
One
what
of
I
the
do.
things that I like
Guys.
to say about God is that God is the ultimate marketer. What I mean
Mhm.
by that is he gave us all free will if
Yeah.
we're going based on what we were
Yeah.
told. Okay. That means that gives you the ability to pick and choose whether or not you want to believe in him or not. But what he
Yeah.
has done, and this is, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. I think there are various religions created because ultimately they all lead back to God. They
Yes.
all lead back
All
to
of them.
place
All
of
of them.
spirituality. They all lead back, whether you call him Abba, whether you call him
Yes,
Allah, whether you
yes. It's
call him
just
God.
one. It's just one. It's one. It's just
Yeah,
one.
it's all in how you look at things. That's why I said he is the ultimate marketer. He said, I'm giving you free will, but I'm about to give you a million different roads to get back to me.
Yes,
Guys,
exactly.
I am so
Exactly.
sorry. I'm gonna have to leave you
Oh
guys.
yeah. So listen, everybody. I was gonna say this is our last question. How can we as Black women support each other more in an emotional wellness journey and create spaces where we feel seen and heard? And then we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna
Perfect.
solo us out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How can we support? How
Yeah.
can we? I think opening dialogue, not being so judgmental of each other. I think understanding the first thing that was really really important when you said we wear a lot of masks all the time. That just hit home for me because that's how I feel, and so I think it's don't be afraid to say that I'm not okay. I'm
Mhm.
not okay. Today I'm just not okay, and be okay with saying that, and owning that. I think that, and then we said about putting things into place, no matter how small they are, for self-care. Like you said, it's one of those things where even if it's something really small that you can implement and do it regular, it will make a difference in the long run. That's how we can support each other, and always offer your support. That's just by being there. I think
Yeah.
we really try and show that amongst us all, that just giving each other support.
Yeah.
Nicole.
I think we have to start within. We have to start within. Really, to be able to be of support to each other, we need to start healing and really make it a point to do so. It's an ongoing journey. I think I think for me, I'm gonna be working on it until I die.
I
You
think
know,
all of us
because
will. This is
We
why I
all
said
are. Yeah.
it's just going to be a continuous thing. It's
And
like,
yes,
it's
it is a
really
continuous thing, but by
yeah,
me understanding myself, I can understand better my sister by creating community, having your tribe who is like picking you up when you feel down
yeah,
and being able where you can be yourself, like having the tribe where you can be vulnerable, being able to be yourself, communicating, of course, and really pushing for radical self-care.
yeah.
Real.
For
100%.
me, it's starting with being honest with ourselves. Being honest with ourselves about who we are, being honest with ourselves about where we are in life, being honest with ourselves about needing help, needing support,
Mhm.
being honest with our tribes and our community,
Yeah.
telling them when we are not at our best,
Yeah.
letting them know when we are not doing as well as we think we are. So like when Lauren said about she could feel it in her brain, her, and when I explained to you all yesterday how I was feeling, those are the things that we need to start doing. Opening up to people that are around us, opening up to our sisterhoods, opening up to our community, not being afraid to tell the truth, not being afraid to be honest about who you are, and showing up, like we continue to say, authentically. So
Nope.
that is very important. Did I freeze up again?
A
Yay.
little bit. Just a little bit. I was like, oh my God, we're losing her. Just
The
wrap
whole
up.
pod without really a major hiccup. So it's a success.
It is a success. Okay, but you guys, we're gonna go because we are reached beyond our hour point.
I didn't even
I will
realize. Oh my
I want to
God.
just say that I appreciate both of you guys, and I'm going to encourage every woman out there that's listening. If something has resonated with you guys today, please don't be afraid. I'm going to post later in a couple of groups and let you all know that we're looking for your words, your voice, and what you have to offer. Send us videos, 1 minute snippets about what it is that how you feel about what we're talking about, how things you have encountered here in the world, how your part of the world treats Black women, whether that's you in Africa, you're in Australia, you're in Italy, especially y'all in Italy. If you're in South America, if you're in the Caribbean, we want to hear from you. We want you to tell us your stories, your journeys, your experiences, so that we can talk about them. Share your videos here on the podcast as well. With that being said, I'm going to bid adieu to both Lauren and Nicole.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, there you go.
See you next week.
See you all next week.
Oh, it was lovely seeing you. See you later. See you next.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dear Black Woman. Again, a podcast featuring Black women from different countries, where we all hope today's episode helped you feel seen and reminded you of the importance of taking care of your mental health. There is no shame in seeking help and creating space for your emotional well-being. If something from our conversation spoke to you, share it with a friend. Don't forget to leave a review. And as I encouraged you just a few minutes ago on the show, send us a 1-minute snippet and let us know what you think. Special thanks again to Rabbit Production for the music that keeps the vibe right for the beginning and the end of each episode. Until next time, remember, you deserve peace, healing, and the freedom to prioritize yourself. Don't forget to like, subscribe, download, share, and follow this podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Thank you so much for being a part of this episode, and you guys have an awesome day.